Did you know that nearly 75% of people experience anxiety when it comes to public speaking? That's more than the number of people who fear death. This fear can hold many back from sharing their ideas and stories. But what if I told you that your audience doesn't want you to be perfect? They crave something much more valuable: connection. In this video, we will explore how you can become a great speaker by focusing on authenticity rather than perfection. We'll dive into the power of vulnerability and how embracing your flaws can actually draw your audience closer. You'll learn why storytelling trumps statistics and how to create emotional rhythms in your delivery that resonate with listeners. Get ready to turn your fear into connection, your flaws into strengths, and your audience into allies. By the end of this journey, you will see that the best speeches come from the heart, not the script. So, are you ready to unlock the secrets to captivating your audience? Let's dive in. Chapter 1: The Myth of Perfection, Why It's Hurting Your Impact. Many aspiring speakers believe that perfection is the key to winning over an audience. But here's a surprising truth: trying to be flawless can actually do more harm than good. In fact, a study from the University of Michigan found that audiences are more likely to connect with speakers who show vulnerability and authenticity than those who appear too polished. People don't want to hear a robot, they want to hear a real person. When you're overly focused on perfection, you're often in your own head, worrying about every word and gesture. This can create a barrier between you and your audience. They can feel the tension, and instead of being drawn in, they disconnect. Instead, consider what author Brené Brown said in her book Daring Greatly: vulnerability is the birthplace of innovation, creativity, and change. When you embrace your imperfections, you give yourself permission to be real, and your audience will love you for it. So, how do you start moving away from perfection? Begin by giving yourself room to make mistakes. Practice not with the goal of being flawless but with the aim of being authentic. If you stumble on a word or lose your place, don't panic. Laugh it off, or use it as an opportunity to engage with your audience. They'll appreciate your honesty and relate to your human side. Another tip: focus on the message, not on yourself. When you're speaking, remember that it's not about looking perfect, it's about delivering value. Your audience is there to learn or be inspired, not to judge every misstep. When you shift your focus from "how do I sound" to "what do they need," you'll naturally come across more relaxed and relatable. Chapter 2: The Power of Vulnerability, Turning Mistakes into Magic. Mistakes aren't just inevitable, they're opportunities. This might sound counterintuitive, but when you embrace your errors on stage, you turn them into moments of connection. Author Simon Sinek, in his book Leaders Eat Last, says, "Great leaders don't fear vulnerability, they embrace it." The same is true for great speakers. Here's a quick fact: Harvard Business School research showed that people who admit their mistakes are seen as more trustworthy and competent. Why? Because they're showing their humanity, and in turn, the audience feels more connected. So, how do you turn mistakes into magic? First, don't rush to correct yourself. If you fumble a word or forget a point, pause. Let the moment breathe. Pausing can be powerful. It shows confidence, and sometimes, the audience doesn't even notice the mistake until you draw attention to it. Second, acknowledge the mistake with humor or humility. A simple, "well, that didn't come out right," followed by a smile can transform an awkward moment into a shared laugh. Your audience isn't looking for perfection, they're looking for someone they can relate to. Use these moments to show them that you're just like them, imperfect but passionate. If you're feeling nervous about making mistakes, try this strategy: purposely insert small, harmless mistakes into your practice runs. This teaches you to handle them with grace and keeps you from fearing them. The more comfortable you are with being imperfect, the more confident you'll feel overall. Chapter 3: Storytelling over Stats, Crafting Stories That Stick. Facts tell, but stories sell. It's an old saying, but it's backed by science. Research from Stanford University found that people are 22 times more likely to remember a story than a fact. That's because stories engage multiple parts of our brain, while raw data only hits our logical centers. Here's a strategy: whenever you need to present a stat, wrap it in a story. Instead of just saying, 85% of people are afraid of public speaking, tell a short, personal story about how you used to be terrified of speaking too. Relate the stat back to something emotional or personal. This turns dry data into a memorable moment. In his book Made to Stick, Chip Heath argues that stories are the best way to transfer your ideas to another person. This is because stories help us relate, feel, and remember. Facts are important, but when you weave them into a narrative, they become powerful. Here's another storytelling tip: use the hero's journey structure. This is a classic storytelling framework where the speaker, or someone else, starts out facing a challenge, overcomes it, and grows as a result. This structure pulls your audience in emotionally. They root for the hero, you or your subject, and when the hero wins, they feel like they've won too. Make your stories personal. Audiences crave authenticity. Share real-life experiences, even if they're not glamorous. Did you freeze up during a speech? Did you forget your lines? Share that. Those real moments are what your audience will connect with most. Lastly, practice your delivery. A story that's flatly told is just as forgettable as a list of facts. Use vocal variety, change your pace, and add pauses for dramatic effect. When you deliver your story with emotion, your audience feels that emotion too. If you're finding these tips helpful, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Join our community for more insights on becoming a great speaker. Chapter 4: Emotional Rhythm. Speaking with heart, not just words. Delivering a speech isn't just about the words you choose, it's about the feeling behind them. Your tone, pace, and pauses matter just as much, if not more. According to Albert Mehrabian's famous communication study, only 7% of communication is verbal, the other 93% comes from non-verbal cues like tone and body language. That's why it's so important to tap into your emotional rhythm when you speak. Here's a strategy: before you step on stage, take a moment to connect with the emotions of your message. Ask yourself, what do I want my audience to feel? Whether it's excitement, empathy, or urgency, that feeling should guide how you deliver your talk. One technique is to match your vocal variety to the emotions you're conveying. If you're sharing an exciting breakthrough, let your voice rise and speed up a bit. If you're talking about a more serious topic, slow down and lower your tone. This creates a natural emotional rhythm that will captivate your audience. Another tip: use pauses effectively. Don't rush from one sentence to the next. A well-timed pause can add suspense, give your audience time to absorb your message, or emphasize a key point. As Mark Twain famously said, the right word may be effective, but no word was ever as effective as a rightly timed pause. Engaging your audience emotionally also means reading their reactions. If you notice their energy dipping, try switching up your tone or introducing a surprising fact or story. Emotional rhythm is dynamic, not static. It should ebb and flow with the energy in the room. Finally, remember to show emotion yourself. Don't be afraid to express how you feel about your topic. Studies from the University of Wisconsin have shown that audiences mirror the emotions of speakers, so if you're passionate, excited, or moved by your message, your audience will be too. Chapter 5: Audience as Allies. Engaging instead of lecturing. The best speeches don't feel like speeches at all, they feel like conversations. Treat your audience like they're part of the discussion, not passive listeners. According to a study published in Psychology Today, people remember only 10% of what they hear in a lecture-style presentation, but when they're actively engaged, retention jumps to 50%. So how do you turn a speech into an engaging experience? Start by making your audience feel seen. That could be as simple as maintaining eye contact or asking them questions throughout your talk. Even rhetorical questions like, "Have you ever felt nervous before a big presentation?" get your audience thinking and nodding along. Another great strategy is to involve your audience with live interactions. Ask for volunteers, conduct a quick poll, or encourage them to share their thoughts or experiences. You can even say something like, "I see a few nods out there," or "Raise your hand if this sounds familiar." These small moments of connection make your talk feel more dynamic and engaging. Don't be afraid to adjust based on audience reactions. If people seem confused, take a moment to clarify. If they're excited, ride that wave and dive deeper into the topic. Audience feedback, whether verbal or non-verbal, is a valuable tool. Remember, you're not just delivering information, you're building a relationship. Humor is another powerful way to engage. A study from the University of Oxford found that laughter releases endorphins, which helps bond people together. Light humor, when appropriate, can break the ice and make your audience feel more comfortable. Finally, think of your audience as allies, not critics. This mindset shift can ease performance anxiety. Instead of worrying about impressing them, focus on collaborating with them. You're all in this experience together, and when you approach it that way, speaking feels less like a performance and more like a shared journey. If you enjoyed these insights and want to become a better speaker, don't forget to subscribe. Join us for more tips and strategies that will help you connect with your audience and deliver impactful presentations.